Welcome to CityWise. I'm your host, Tiana Stevens. CityWise is produced by the City of Rochester to shine a spotlight on city living at its best. Improving police and community relations is a top priority of Mayor Lovely Warren and the Rochester Police Department, and a large part of that effort includes implementing the body-worn camera program. Leading this project is RPD Lieutenant Mike Perkowski and Captain Kevin Costello. They've spent months researching, planning, and training officers on the new equipment, and they're joining us now to tell us more. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Why is it important to equip RPD officers with body-worn cameras?
I'll start with it. I think it's really become what the expectation is to understand what our officers do, provide that transparency. So it's very important in that way. Adds a certain amount of confidence for officers in that what they're doing is seen in the light that it should be, and citizens as well, that our officers are doing a good job. And it also provides some evidence that may help us in prosecutions to really make things safer in the city for everybody involved.
And what type of research had to be done to bring us to the implementation phase?
Well, there was months of research just through on the web, reading, visiting other departments. I know Captain Costello went to Cleveland Police Department, who had already implemented something like this. I went to Toronto Police Department in Toronto, Ontario. They were doing an 85 camera study. So there was research out there, and we looked at it, and we looked at what was best for our department, and then put it out to some type of proposal process and looked at what companies want to do business with us.
What are some of the benefits of the body-worn cameras for the community, and how does it help increase community policing?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, that transparency piece is a big deal. I think really getting a connection between officers and the citizens is what we're all about. And if people can really see us like themselves, this is one of those things that helps that. A lot of times we deal with people in really tough situations, and so those situations, when taken out of context or not understand fully or just dealt with from a written report, are difficult to understand. So that visual component is really important to building a trust. And trust is really not just the cameras, it's those day-to-day interactions. I think this just allows us to build on that. And we really don't get any further unless we're building trust and we're developing relationships with people in the community. And this is just one piece of doing that.
And part of the process was engaging the community from the beginning to get their input to put together the policy around the program. What were some of the questions that the community had about the cameras?
The community was concerned about when we were going to have the camera on, when we were going to have it off.
Okay.
And I think we addressed that well. I mean, there are policies around the nation that leave it up to the discretion of their officers when to turn it on. Our policy does not. We say if an officer is involved in any type of arrest, detention, use of force, or pursuit situation, or has the possibility of being in that type of situation, the camera will be on. And so I think in that respect, our policy is good, because we do dictate when we'll have it on, rather than leaving it up to the discretion of the officer. Part of the body-worn camera is, and that trust factor is, we're not just going to put it on when we think we're doing something right. We're going to have it on at all times. So it gives a, we're transparent about everything we do.
And who will wear the cameras? Will all members of the force, or how will that work?
Well, the goal is to have about 500 cameras out by the time we get this deployment done early in 2017. But it's really focused on the patrol officers, sergeants, and lieutenants who work in our patrol sections, who work in our tactical unit. These are the people that are responding for calls for service, doing the proactive enforcement. These are the people when you call the police department, when you talk about an RPD officer, that's the people you see. Those are the people in regular day-to-day interaction. That's where we're focusing. So about 500 cameras of the 700 people or so we have in the department.
And you guys are wearing the cameras today. I know there were several models that you had to choose from during the process. Tell us about this particular camera and why it was selected.
So this camera was selected for a couple of reasons. One is it does have a screen on the back of it. So in terms of the officer being able to view the video before they write a report or have to refer back to something that's on the recording, they have the ability right there to do it. The camera is tamper-proof. So unless you use the software that's set up with the system, you can't just run a USB cord to any computer and download the videos. That was
Okay.
very important to us. You know, it's a one touch on, one touch off. The other thing is it's ruggedized, so it is weatherproof. You know, rain, snow, sleet, you know, heat. The way we've had it, that won't affect the camera. So that's some of the stuff we looked at, and part of the reasons why we chose this camera.
Yeah, I think this camera gives us an opportunity to limit the amount of time officers have to spend off the road because of the camera. We need our
Okay.
officers to be efficient. We don't want this to in any way reduce our service. So
Sure.
that was a big part of picking this one. We think this allows our officers to spend less time interacting with the camera itself and more time out there really interacting and doing the work on the street.
So how does it work when an officer starts their shift? Do they check out a camera, and then what happens at the end of the shift? What do they do?
So every officer will be issued their own camera.
Okay.
And we've found great success with that, even with our portable radios. Each officer has their own radio. We think by giving everybody their own camera, they'll be able to last longer because people will take more pride in having their own. The other thing that does is every day the same camera is assigned to them. We don't have to worry about making sure that somebody is there either through some type of clerical action or anything, changing ID numbers to different cameras. So the officer goes to their briefing before they start their shift. They pick their camera up off of a docking station. They go out, they use the camera. Just to fast forward towards the end of the shift, whatever files are on there, they then put it in the docking station. The files will come off of the camera automatically and go to our storage servers, and then at the same time the camera battery is charged. So the next day the officer comes in, they have a storage disk that's on the camera that's clean and has all the space they need,
Sure.
and then the battery's charged.
Okay. Who will have access to the videos once they've been uploaded or downloaded?
So the officers will have access to the video, putting a code on them to review the video, so they have some access to them to do that. All supervisors will be able to see all of the videos just to check on what's occurring. Is the video being used correctly? The videos, we have the ability to further restrict access to the videos depending on the type within the system. But the real important part is although people will be able to see the videos, the officer, the supervisor, that video cannot be in any way changed. The fundamental underlying video remains the same in the system. Very small number of people have the ability to delete or do anything like that, and there's a strict process to be followed for that, and there's always an audit record, and that's very important for prosecutions to show that that video is authentic, it's an actual event, and we can prove that chain of custody.
How about members of the community? Can they pick up a copy of their video, kind of like you would pick up your police report if you needed to?
So how we're addressing getting videos is throughout the city's FOIL process. If somebody wants a video, they would do the application to FOIL the video.
Okay.
And then we'll take a look at the application, and based on what's going on with the video, if there's some type of criminal prosecution or if there's some type of privacy exception, we'll make a determination on whether the video should be released or not.
And cameras aren't going to be all at once in every section. How are you implementing rolling them out?
So right now we're really in a phase of we're training our first group of trainers. We're doing that now.
Okay.
That also allows us to really test the technology from start to finish. No matter how many tests you do,
In the real world.
it doesn't work. Yeah.
Sure.
And so our plan is basically on a monthly basis, and sometime in August we will begin the deployment of the cameras in the Clinton section. We'll get them out there. We'll do them in groups, test them, make sure they're working well. Once Clinton is up and running, we'll move to the next section. I think Central is next, if I'm right. And then move month by month. Once we're sure everything's stable, everything works, we'll move on to the next section, adjust accordingly, both in the system and in the policy. And then with the goal, by the end of January of 17, we should have all of our units pretty much in force.
And you mentioned technology, and it does change so quickly. Will cameras be upgraded as the years go by?
Yeah, part of the thing that we wrote into the contract was the ability for us to upgrade cameras as technology does get better. So I think we'll be able to do that. You know, it's nationally, this is a trend to go to body-worn cameras. I'm not sure in terms of the national expectations from citizens that technology has kept up with that. But usually that's closely there behind. So we do have safeguards in the contract that we wrote to make sure that we do stay up to date with the technology needs of the program. Yeah.
And as you implement in each of the sections, you guys are also having community meetings. But in addition to the community meetings, there's a lot of resources on the webpage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say anybody that wants to learn about what we're doing on the body-worn camera program certainly could go to our website, www.cityofrochester.gov, and just type in the keyword body-worn camera, and they can see a timeline. They can see our final policy on there. There's even a section where they could make comments or ask questions, which actually comes right to me. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody over the phone. I just need their information.
Yeah, and then the follow-up, our plan and the implementation is to hold meetings in each section slightly ahead of time so we can start educating the people in the section. Regular community groups we meet with, groups within the section that ask. The captain asks the people in the section, who do they think are the best people to get out to? In fact, we just held one in the central section last week. Those are the meetings that we're doing. So that'll be kind of a month before we go into that section. We'll be doing that throughout the section, at least part of the process, with always an opportunity to add more.
Sure. How has the community response been so far?
I think the community wants these, both from the transparency standpoint and also, I think it's a way for us, and we've spoke about this before, to prove our trust with the community. Everybody is happy for it. They want to see it happen. We just have to make sure that we, from the technology side, roll this out the right way and not necessarily rush it, because it could do more harm if we don't do it the right way and just try to do it fast.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Again, for more information about the body-worn camera program, you can visit cityofrochester.gov/RPD body-worn camera. You can always call 311 or 428-5990 to be connected with City Hall or the Rochester Police Department.